Chapter 19. Will you accept this little gift? When you have been selling one article for 5 or 6 years, when you have pushed that sale so hard that you have disposed of 50,000 for 3 years in succession, and when competition on that has become so keen that it has come down to a cutthroat basis, time to see if you cannot substitute some new item that will start the ball rolling all over again. At least that is the way we felt about traveling bags. So, for some time had been testing a smaller edition of our traveling bag to a just about half the price. We called it the HandiBag. It really started as a doctor's bag. We had lined one side of it with to hold all sorts of small bottles and packets, and the other side with three large pockets for papers, stethoscope, and the like. Since it was a new product, we had tested it on doctors with our good old standby, the "Will you do me a favor?" letter. Here is copy of the letter, circular and card we used. Dear Doctor, will you do me a favor? For several years now, we have been selling physicians' leather bags by mail, at a saving of a good many dollars from the usual retail price. This year we have changed these bags so radically, arranged the pockets and the inside so conveniently for doctors, that I honestly believe no physician or surgeon can examine one without wanting it for his own. Just listen. On one side of the bag, 5 moisture-proof pockets lined with hospital rubber. You can put a bottle of iodine or acid or antiseptic solution into any of them without any fear of what will happen if the stopper comes out. On the other side, one big long pocket the full width of the bag, containing 4 heavy folders capable of holding your history sheets, prescription blanks, call list, rubber gloves, etc. And the folders are easily removable so the pockets can be used for stethoscope or surgical instruments. The whole bottom of the bag left free for larger instruments and bulky objects. Adjustable lock that opens or shuts at the mere pressure of your thumb. A more convenient bag for physicians or surgeons has never, we believe, been designed. But you know how it is in merchandising, you can never be sure of such things until after you have sunk a lot of money in them. Which brings me to the favor. I want to make sure of the demand, or lack of demand, before we sink too much money in this new handy bag. So I've come to you with this favor. Will you try out one of these new doctor's handy bags for me for a week? Use it. See how convenient, how time-saving, how handsome it is? How it compares with bags you have bought at $12 or $15 and then write me? Needless to say, I'll send you our newest and finest bag, made of tough, outer, grain cowhide, the kind that wears for years, with a richness of appearance that will not look out of place in the most exclusive home on the avenue. At the end of the week, if you should like the bag so well that you want to keep it, you can send me, not the $12 or $15 you would probably expect to pay for such a bag, but our special introductory price to you, only $7.95. Otherwise, just send it back at our expense. And in payment for the week's wear, tell me frankly your honest opinion of the bag and its saleability. Naturally, I am not making offers like this to everyone, so whether you accept it or not, I should feel obliged if you would return the card so as to ensure against its falling into other hands. Naturally, too, your opinion will be of value to me only if I get it now, before we are definitely committed for any great quantity of these new model handy bags. Won't you therefore fill in your name and address on the card tonight if you can? On second thought, better mail it right away, while you have it in your hand, so there will be no chance of forgetting it. I thank you for your courtesy. Yours for mutual cooperation. It pulled well enough, around 4%. On that basis of were costing us something less than 90 cents apiece, with a $7.95 sale, meant a selling cost of about 11.5%. Not bad, but it was nothing to set the world afire either. We were looking for something that would go so well that it would make up for the temporary dropping of the regular travel. And presently we found it. Looking over the past records one day, I came across the one in which we offered the bedroom slippers free if people would send for the bathrobe. And it occurred to me that something of kind might be tried with the handy bag. You see, the bag was really so convenient and such a bargain that we felt sure if we could get it into a doctor's hands, he would never let a little $7.95 interfere with his keeping it. So we started looking around for a premium that would not cost us much, yet would have a universal appeal to every doctor. And in a circular that drifted to my desk a few days later, the answer. The circular described a new machine that could stamp names in raised letters upon such things as fountain cost of 2 to 4 cents each, What could suit us better? Fountain pens are just about necessary to a doctor as his prescription pad, and they are continually getting mislaid. What could be a more welcome gift than a fountain pen stamped with a personalized name? We would try it at once. So we wrote to each doctor. Will you accept one of the new large-size self-filling fountain pens with your name die, stamped upon raised letters in return for a little favor I want you to do? The favor is a simple one, pleasant and easy to realize. Here is the way of it. And then we went on with the rest of the will you do me a favor letter given before. Did that pull? Does honey draw flies? Instead of sent, our new letter brought in 12 and 14% of orders. We worked our entire list of doctors. We changed the letter to make it suitable for our regular customers and worked them too. In the first 2 months of that year, we sold 60,000 HandiBags. Here's the letter without the fountain pen premium, as changed for the customer list. Dear friend, before giving this offer wide publicity, we are laying it before a number of men whose judgment we value, with a request that they pass judgment upon the idea. For 4 years now, we have been selling the famous Statler bag, the greatest improvement we believe that has been made in traveling bags in the past 10 years. But many friends wrote us that they had no need for as large a bag as the Statler, that all they wanted was a sturdy, conveniently arranged bag for overnight or weekend trips. Couldn't we give them a bag made along the same lines as the Statler, of the same long-wearing cowhide leather, and with the same wonderfully handy interior arrangement, but somewhat smaller and at about half the price? We can and will, if we can only be sure of the demand for these smaller-sized, lower-priced bags before we sink a lot of money in them by putting them on the market in a big way. So, I have come to you as a past customer of the house to ask if you will be good enough to help us out by giving us the benefit of your judgment on this new HandiBag. Will you try out one of these new HandiBags for us for a week, at our expense, our risk? Take it with you on a trip, put it to any test you can think of, and then write us? Needless to say, in both appearance and quality, this HandiBag is one you can feel proud of anywhere. 14 inches long by 7 inches wide and 12 inches high, made of tough outer grain cowhide, the kind wears for years, over a shiny steel frame. Its deep leather, its carefully sewn seams, and its heavy gold-plated lock give it a richness of appearance that will not be out of place in the most exclusive home. But its unique value lies in the special arrangement pockets on the inside, the feature that more than all else has made the Statler bag so popular. These little pockets give you a special place for your every toilet need. Not only that, but if toothpaste happens to leak or a stopper come out of a bottle, no harm is done. For these pockets are each one lined with moisture-proof hospital rubber. All we want you to do is try out this new HandiBag a week. If at the end of that time you should like the bag so well that you want to keep it for yourself, you send us not the $12 or $15 you would expect to pay genuine cowhide bag in a store, but our special introductory price to you, only $7.95. Otherwise, all that is necessary is just to ship it back original container at our expense, and in payment for this week's use, give us your judgment of its saleability. Naturally, we are not making offers such as this to everyone. Naturally, too, your advice will be of value only if we can get it soon, before the vacation opens up. Won't you therefore mail the enclosed card today? Better still, put your name and address on it now, while it's right before you, while you need but for your pen or pencil, and then drop the card in the outgoing mail. I thank you for your courtesy, yours for mutual cooperation. But while it was one of the most profitable sales we had ever run, it turned out to be indirectly the cause of the greatest debacle the company ever faced. Sometime before I had started a little publishing business of my own, it was taking so much of my time that I felt I had best give up out-of-town consultants work. So after the HandiBag campaign was successfully underway, I withdrew. I am lucky to say that because I would probably have been as easy a victim the new idea as were the others. Here was the way of it. Never been able to sell to women on a large scale, as with special lists like the women on our customer list, or the wives of customers, or good male buyers like the Davis Fish List, I could circulars for and show as good a profit as with men. But when to picking up lists of women by the 100,000 and million, I had never been able to write anything that would bring the orders in profitable volume. But when the HandiBag went over so successfully on a premium, it occurred to some bright soul that women were even more susceptible to free offers than men. So why not pick some woman's product and put over a big sale on it? It sounded reasonable, and except for an unfortunate experience of that kind I had had once before, I'm sure I would have fallen for it as readily as the others did. Be that as it may, they scouted around for a suitable product and finally hit upon silk stockings. They wrote to miscellaneous lists of women. Will you accept a pair of beautiful silk stockings, pure thread silk from top to bottom, in return for a little favor I want you to do? The favor is a simple one, pleasant and easy to render. Here is the way of it. I am going to send you in the next few days a box of 6 pairs of the finest pure silk stockings in the newest pastel shades. When they arrive, look them over, pick out the pair you like best, and put it on. Actually wear it for a day, then wash it and wear it again. Then if you don't agree with me that it is as fine a pair of silk stockings as you have ever had on your feet, if in luster and feel and wear it is not the equal of any you can buy in stores at any price, keep that pair as my gift and return the box with the other 5 pairs at my expense. Of course, there was more to the letter than that, but those were the salient points. Did it pull? I leave you to guess. In 3-month time, it brought orders for more than 600,000 pairs of silk stocking. For a while, it looked as though all we had done in the past week, merely the efforts of pikers, on a single product, going to people we had never been able to sell successfully in any large way, they had orders amounting to more than $750,000. Then came the morning after, and oh, what a headache. It looked for a time as though whole works were going by the board. Talk about the time we stood $80,000 in the red on the 1st of June. That was mere chicken feet. It looked as though they stood to lose 3 or 4 times that now. I had a hurry call to drop everything and come up for a couple months at any price. I found that, of the more than 100,000 boxes stockings shipped, 72% were being returned, minus 1 pair in each box, and of the balance, some 10,000 accounts were uncollectible. A sad enough prospect, truly, but when we tried to job those eye stockings, it looked even more so. We could not get even half the price that had been paid for them. 1/4 was the best we were offered, and to add that tremendous loss to the amount dropped on the sale would almost swamp everything. So we would have to sell the stockings by mail, and at a price that would leave us at least a slight profit. Some undertaking, I think you will agree. Selling 360,000 pair stockings is a hard enough job at best, but when you have just worked all your available lists on an offer such as the one that it used, and when those stock mailings are returns, it makes difficulties look almost insurmountable. But it is surprising what you can do when you have to. We had to sell those stockings, so we did. Though it took every different kind of sale I had ever heard of, and some I had not. To begin with, we sat down and wrote every manner of sales appeal on stockings that we could think of. Then we tried them all, some 12 or 14 of them. Of the lot, 4 pulled surprisingly well, so we took them in order and used each on our entire available list about a month apart. By the end of the year, the stockings were gone, and instead of a tremendous loss, we showed for the year's efforts a net profit of $18,000. That looked pretty sickly after the big figures we were accustomed, but any sort of black figures looked good to us then. It'd been hard scratching, and we were thankful enough to be so out of it. To give you an idea of the endless methods we had used, we had never been able to sell to teachers, but someone suggested that we offer them a special discount in return for their giving us the names of 5 parents who would make likely prospects for our silk stockings. The result was that we not only sold this new list at a fair profit, but disposed of a large number of stockings to teachers, on which we made a slight profit as well. Then we happened to be moving into new quarters, so of course we used that to stage the first removal sale in our history. From that we went on to a 1 cent a sale, a combination sale, every kind of sale in short, excepting a fire sale. And if the new building had not been so fireproof, we might have been tempted to have one of those too. We managed to get out with a whole skin. but it was a close shave. That is one of the great things about selling by mail. It puffs you up one day so you think you are the greatest thing on 2 feet. The next, it pricks the bubble and lets you down with a dull, heavy thud. Talk about a little knowledge being a dangerous thing. Knowledge can drop money faster selling by mail than gambling in the stock market. And yet, properly run, there is no safer business on earth. You need never risk anything but the cost of a test. At the Reviews of Reviews, for instance, when Wells' outline of history was offered to us, we didn't need to say, all right, we'll gamble on that, or we can't afford to risk that much money. No, what we said was, give us a 60-day option, and we'll find out. So we gambled the cost of a couple of tests, found that we could sell so many sets to each 1,000 names we circularized, multiplied that by the number of names available, and knew just what safely contract to do. There was no manufacturing cost, no inventories to worry about, no commitments. If the test had been a failure, we would have bought enough of the bookstore edition to fill the orders received and been out nothing but the small cost of the tests. If the bookstore edition had not been available, we would have returned all money received, notified those who ordered that circumstances made it impossible to go ahead with the project, and closed the matter. Is there any other business where future projects can be forecast with such certainty and at such small expense? And that is the end of Chapter 19. If you would like to grab your copy of the Robert Collier letter book, click the link in the description, and you will find it available in German, Spanish, and French, alongside many other fundamental marketing books. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more direct response content. See you in the next one.